Morning from the garden. I'm just getting a bit of rhubarb together for my winter stout. I've got quite a good plant and it's a bit late for picking. It's now July, but it's producing so much I think it would be a waste not to. I'll leave enough on the plant so it survives and thrives. Well, that's not too bad a haul. And then with each one I'm just going to top and tail it. Top and tail. Top and tail. I'll be back. Oh, hello. So there's what I've just picked. I'm not going to use all of it, I'm going to save some for the missus. But I'm going to chop it up now and see how much I've actually got. So that pan weighs 657 grams, so we can say close enough that I've got 1.5 kilos in there of rhubarb that I've just picked. So I've separated out 500 grams. I want to make some stewed rhubarb, nothing to do with the beer, so I'm actually going to have 1 kilo of rhubarb going into this brew. So in this part of the film I'm just going to be processing my freshly picked rhubarb and blackcurrants. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. So these pieces of rhubarb are in this colander basket, okay? That colander basket sits on here. This is a steam press. Underneath that, in the bottom, I've got 4 litres of water. The steam from that water will come up through this vent. It will hit the fruit in the basket and break it down, and the juice will be extracted. It will drip down into the middle pan, and that hole that you might be able to see down there somewhere goes to that spout, which comes into this heat-proof tube, which goes into that demijohn, which is in a metal pan on a towel. The metal pan is in case the demijohn cracks and fails, which it hasn't yet, fingers crossed it won't. And the towel is simply to protect my laminate floor from the heat, because this is literally boiling when it comes out. So that's my rhubarb in there. So there's 1 kilo of blackcurrants going on top of that. And in the top of my fridge, that is a pint of gooseberry juice, which I've already extracted using the steam press. So I'm going to put the gooseberry juice in after I've extracted the juice from this lot that I've got in the steam press. So essentially in this part of the film I'm just processing the fresh fruit that I've picked. So on top of the rhubarb goes the blackcurrants. So you can see the level which is in there of the blackcurrants in the pan on top of the rhubarb. As the juice is extracted, that will compress right down. So I'm using a wok ring today, so it's got a nice big burner, but I'm going to put it on low, turn the gas on, and all I've got to do now is wait. This will take about 40 minutes to start doing anything, so I'll come back to you then. It's about 50 minutes later, and I've, as usual, missed the debut drips, but there you can see this is now dripping nicely. And that fruit will just break down inside there. So I'm just now going to leave this and let this demijohn fill up essentially. I might not get the full gallon, but I'll see what I get out of it. I'll give you an update later on. Right, it's a couple of hours later. There's nothing else coming out, so I think I'm going to switch it off. So I'll just get the gas off there. You can see that the pipe is clear. There's nothing been dripping in there for a while. If I remove the lid, you'll see that that has gone right down. Remember, that fruit was originally at that ring level just there. That's just a mush in the bottom now. What I do with that mush is let it go cool, put it in a bucket outside, fill it up with water, mix it all in, and then I just put it on the garden as fertiliser. There's no point in wasting it. So I'm just going to remove the colander basket, pop that on there, and this is what's left in the bottom of the pan, so I'm just going to tip that so it goes down the pipe and into there. And that is my hot juice. And just to show you in the bottom pan, it's nearly used 4 litres of water. Actually, there's just a dribble left in there, so I've turned it off in time. Right, here's what I've got. So I've got almost a gallon of juice just in there. Now there will be some blackcurrant seeds in there, but when I actually rack this from the bucket which I'm going to brew it in, which is down there, I will actually filter it using this coffee filter to prevent any seeds going into the demijohns from racking. So I'm going to leave this now for 24 hours to start to cool down. The next part of this film will involve me showing you the ingredients, the beer kit that I'm going to use, the spray malt, lactose sugar, everything else. However, the spray malt is currently en route and it may arrive today or it may arrive tomorrow. So I'll either carry on later today or I'll pick it up tomorrow. We'll see. Right, catch you whenever. Evening folks, I'm back. It's the same day. So I'm going to tell you about the beer that I'm going to attempt to make. It's going to be a blackcurrant, rhubarb and gooseberry milkshake stout. That's my intentions. Will it work? I have no idea. Let's find out. Here's the key ingredients. So starting off, I've got the 4/5 of a gallon of blackcurrant and rhubarb juice from this morning. I've got my pint of gooseberry juice from the other day. This is the kit that I'm going to use. It's a Young's Brew Harvest Stout beer kit. I don't know if I've ever made this stout before. I've got a feeling that I have, and I've got a feeling that it worked out quite nice, so fingers crossed, this one will as well. I'm going to shove some pectolase in because there is some cloudiness from the fruit here, which hopefully this might help to clear. I'm going to use some Cascade hops, homegrown and home dehydrated, which I'll make a hop tea with and add into the brew. I'm going to use 1 kilogram of medium dried malt extract. Now I'm using medium rather than dark malt extract because sometimes if you use dark in a stout kit, it can just taste too dark, and I'm trying to avoid that. I've got 500 grams of Young's lactose milk sugar, and I'm using this because it's a non-fermentable sugar, which should hopefully mean, fingers crossed, that this ends up with some residual sweetness. And that's where the Milkshake Stout milk sugar idea comes from. I've got 1.2 kilograms of dextrose monohydrate brewing sugar to up the final ABV. I've currently got 5 litres of spring water. I'm going to be adding probably another 10 litres of spring water, maybe not quite 10, but somewhere around about that mark. Also, I'm hoping to settle on about 21-ish, 22-ish, somewhere around about that litres, no more. When I rack this, I want to rack it into 4 demijohns, so I want enough to fit into 4 demijohns, 4 gallons. Right, it's blooming warm. Let's crack on. So I'm going to begin by emptying this 5 litres of spring water into this pan. Right, that's all in. On top of that, I'm going to add my 1.2 kilos of brewing sugar. I'm then going to add some heat to this. So I've got that on a nice and low heat. I don't want it to nuke, I just want it to go nice and steady. The brewing sugar dissolves extremely easily. I'll just give that a little bit of agitation. And I'll get my next ingredient in there. So the next ingredient will be the medium dried malt extract, whole kilogram, going in. And it's got a real Horlicksy, Ovaltine smell to it. It's lovely actually. Love that smell. I give that a stir. And this is definitely a bit more sludgy. So next I'm going to get my Harvest Stout beer kit in. So that comes off. That's the yeast that comes with it. I'll be using the yeast that comes with it and not any other yeast. I did think about putting a saison yeast in there, but I thought a black milkshake saison with all that fruit in, is that a bridge too far? Let's do it in baby steps. So that's why I'm doing it as a stout with the stout yeast. So I'm going to remove the label from the tin as I always do, and I'm not going to follow any of the instructions on the tin because I never do. Because why follow instructions when you can stumble through life making mistakes and learning from them? That's what I think. So here's my tin. I'm going to need to get the lid off. And this is where I'll probably have a bit of a mentee bee, as the kids say, at me tin opener not working, but it seems to be going okay actually. It's gone all right. Need to fish it out though. And what I don't want to do is waste any of that black gold that's on there. Invariably I will do a little bit, but I'm trying not to as much as possible. Because this is all good stuff. So that's the tin, and this is how it goes. It literally goes blob, 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 blob. And then we get nice ribboning effects. And it's quite therapeutic actually. But essentially, I've got to get everything that's in there into this pan. It's all just one big happy mixture. I don't care if I'm not following the rule book. I don't care if I'm not doing it in the right order. That looks like a Jackson Pollock, and that's all that matters. Actually, I've got no idea if it looks like a Jackson Pollock, but it sounds right. Okay, I think I've done pretty good, but I'm going to get the rest of that out with some boiling water. It's going to go into there. Let's say to there. Let the steam build up, everything will melt off into that. I'm going to give it 5 minutes. Now onto my hops. So I'm going to put a sprinkling of hops in here. I'm not measuring it, I know how it should look. That will do. I'm going to fill the pan up with boiling water. And I'm making a hop tea, or infusion, I guess is the correct term. Lid goes on. I'm just leaving that overnight to sit and steep. So the hop tea will be added into there tomorrow once it's infused overnight. So just going back to the big pan, and you can see that those lumps of spray malt have largely dissolved. There's nothing stuck to the bottom of the pan. This is good. It's not yet come to anything like a simmer, but it's definitely getting warmer on that ring. Let's have a look at this. Oh yes, that's fine, that's ready to go in. So using oven gloves for safety, remember this is a metal tin full of boiling water. I'm just going to pour this straight into the big pan. And not only has that increased the temperature of the liquid in the big pan, it's also added more flavour. Right, what's left in the tin? Oh god, there's a tiny skid mark of it. I think I can live with that, I think I can sacrifice it. So next in goes my 500 grams of lactose milk sugar. And that gets a nice big stir. And essentially everything in here is pretty much dissolved. But what I'm going to do is put the lid on, and I'm going to leave this for 10 minutes for the heat to build up a little bit more, and then I'll come back to it. So see you then. Right, 10 minutes later. It's definitely on the hot side of warm now. Let's get a spoon on the top and have a look. So there's no floating lumps, so that's good. I'm just going along the bottom of the pan. There's nothing at all sticking to the bottom of the pan. It feels good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So there's my pint of gooseberry juice. That's going in. And these are lovely purple gooseberries. That's all gone in, sediment, seeds and all. So when I rack this, I will use a sieve so I won't get the seeds into the demijohns at racking stage. I've got this much room, I think I can squeeze that in here, and I'm going to squeeze it in if I can and then leave it. So let's just see where I can get in. Fingers crossed all of it. This is actually still warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. Nice and steady so it doesn't splash everywhere. Right, I'm just going to give it a swirl around in here to pick up any bits that might be on the bottom. Absolutely stunning. Let me show you what I've got. And what I've got is a right full pan. So there's plenty in that. The heat is still on underneath. I don't think it needs to stay on because I think everything has melted. I'm going to give it a good stir around. And I think we're going to say for tonight, we can call it a day. Lid goes on. So what's in there is hot. The fermenting vessel that it's going in is made of plastic. So I cannot put hot into plastic. So I'm going to need this to cool down before I can do anything else with it. So I'm going to switch the heat off now at this point. And I'm just going to leave this now overnight. So tomorrow I need to buy some more spring water. And then I can start to put all this together in the fermenting vessel and crack on with it. So I'll catch you tomorrow on what will be preparation day 2 / brew day 1. See you then. Morning folks, it's the next day and I'm now going to finish this brew by putting it all together. So I've got myself 10 litres of spring water just here. I don't know if I'm going to use all 10, we'll see. So what I'm going to do to begin with is pour one of these wholly into this awaiting brew bucket, which is in the sink. And I'm doing this because it's cold water, so it will protect the bottom of the bucket and it will lower the temperature of the must which I'm going to pour in. Now the must that I'm going to pour in there is not hot at all. It is literally just warm. It's just slightly warmer than the temperature of my hand. I think it's going to be totally fine. Well, I know it's going to be totally fine. However, it is very purple. Let me show you. And I'm wearing a very yellow t-shirt, I've just realised. I think a change of t-shirt before proceeding is required. Iron Maiden, excellent! Right, Bill and Ted reference. For those kids that don't know it, it was a film back in the day, it was a thing. Right, anyway, okay. So, lid comes off. So what I've essentially got to do now is the big dramatic pour. It's a very full pan. It's the fullest pan I've ever done the big dramatic pour with. I am nervous. Here we go. Oh, yes. Bang on 19 litres. Right. So I'm going to add some more spring water, but I'm not adding the whole 5 litre bottle. And I'm going to actually pour this into the pan. Because there's no point in wasting goodness and flavour, is there? There were little bits stuck around the edge, so let's get that in. Nice easy pour. Clean pan. It's very foamy on top. I can't take a gravity reading at this stage. I am on 20.5 litres. Let's get it up to 20. Let's have a look. I'm now on 21. 21 and a half, 22. I'm aware that there's going to be sediment. I definitely want to fill 4 demijohns from this. So I'm on 22 litres now, it stays there. And the water that I've got left in this bottle is going to go into my next brew, which I'm going to start off next week, so that'll be fine. Incidentally, for those people outside of the UK, you might not realise this, but spring water to buy in the shops in the UK is very cheap. This was £1.50 for 5 litres. It's not expensive at all. I'm not sure how that compares globally, but I do sometimes get comments from people, I think in America or possibly Australia, saying, well, you're spending a lot of money on water, obviously, and I'm not really spending that much on it at all. So, right, so there's a massive foamy head on this. And that means for now that I can't take the original gravity because I won't be able to read the hydrometer. So I'm just going to put the lid on. Just going to put it on loose for now. And I'm going to wait half an hour and see if that head dissipates a bit. So I'll come back to you in half an hour. Breakfast time. Sorry, it's not half an hour. I'm back. Forgot to add one more ingredient, didn't I? My hop infusion. So I'm going to pour that in right now. So this is now taking it, in terms of physical volume, a little bit more than I'd anticipated. I'm hoping that the original gravity is still going to be a good one though. I'd like to achieve north of 5% and ideally north of 6%. I am aware that it will finish on a higher than usual final gravity because of the lactose sugar that's in there. Right, that's my hoppy infusion in, lid back on. Right, this time I will be back in half an hour. Right, moment of truth. The foam has dissipated, so let's get the hydrometer in and see what the original gravity is. And it's looking quite healthy. Just got to wait for the hydrometer to turn around because as usual it's facing the wrong way. Always does that. Here we go. Right. I am starting on an original gravity of precisely 1070, 1.070, and that for me is a double thumbs up. Great start. Hopefully this is going to be a nice strong brew. Let me show you. Bang for my buck. That's what I'm going for. So now I've got to put my dry ingredients in, and I neglected to mention one earlier when I went through the ingredients list, and that is yeast nutrient. So I'm adding yeast nutrient, I'm adding pectolase, and I'm adding the sachet of yeast which came with the kit. I'm going to put 6 teaspoonfuls of it in here. 1, it's got quite a bit of work to do. 2, although with it being such a dark beer, I don't think it's going to be particularly clear anyway. But you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway, because I'm used to doing it from cider, so I'm just doing it. I can't even remember if that was 6, but never mind. I've got to stop talking and concentrate more. That's what my teacher said to me 40 odd years ago. Little does that teacher know that I am now Dr. Moss. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 heaped teaspoonfuls of yeast nutrient. Should keep it happy. Finally my yeast. I'm going to pour that on top. And do I leave it and let it settle in naturally, or do I give it a little stir? Oh, I'll give it a little stir. Just a little one with a little spoon. Can anyone tell me what that drum beat was? No, no, no. Yeah. Anyway, right, yes. So, everything's in there. I don't think I've got anything else to go in, so I'm going to put the lid on top and we're going to get a nice snap. Actually, I'll put it so that airlock is more there. Yeah, get a nice snap, so I'll turn it down at this side. Oh yes, Rich's fermentation bins, massively rate them. I think they're very, very good. Lovely snap. And now I've just got to put some water in the airlock. Now I've waited to do it until now because the plastic bucket acts like a lung and it would suck the water in if I moved the bucket, and I don't want that to happen. So just a small amount into the airlock. Put that on top. I'm going to have a little tidy round, label this up. I'll come back to you in a minute. Right folks, all done. Here it is. So Blackcurrant, Rhubarb and Gooseberry Milkshake Stout. Original gravity 1.070. Brew day 1, the 18th of July 25. So preparation is over. This is now brew day 1. I will come back to you with an update when I see bubbles in the airlock, which means that fermentation has begun. That'll either be later today or tomorrow. Whenever that is, I'll catch you then. Evening folks, the yellow t-shirt's back on. I'm feeling brave enough because this is in the bucket. And if you can hear that, then you'll know that this is going well. So this is brew day 1. And by golly, that yeast is having a great time. So there's heat, because it's warm outside, and therefore warm inside. There's sugar, there's nutrient. Oh, this is just going to go nicely, I think. So unless anything odd or spectacular happens, the next time you see me will be racking this from here into 4 demijohns. If anything happens in the meantime which is noteworthy, I'll film it, but otherwise I'll see you at racking. Okay, cheers folks. And just a bit later on brew day 1, but flipping heck, that is motoring like something Fred Dimner put together. Again, young people, you won't know who Fred Dimner is, but my word, that is going fast. I'll give this 4 days, it'll be done. And brew day 2, and it looks like we got a bit excited last night. I'm not surprised by the way it was blowing though. So I've got a little bit of tidying to do here. Well, that'll do for now. How do you clean out the inside of an airlock? There's a question for you. I quite often struggle getting that gunk out. Anyway, I'm going to be getting stared at in a second. Told you so. So brew day 2 evening, and look at that, what a difference. This is going to be a super fast fermenter, and I think that has virtually, nearly, completely fermented out in 2 days. That is pretty amazing, to be honest. I've never had one ferment that fast out, but I would imagine by day 5 at the latest, I am going to be wrecking this. Right, see you in a bit. Hey folks, it's brew day 5, and guess what? Yep, it is racking day. Amazing, I have never racked after 5 days before, ever. Let's have a look at that beer. So here it is. I have had a tea towel and a bigger towel around the edges of it when the sun's been shining in, so don't worry about skunking or anything like that. It has been protected from direct sunlight. But yeah, you can see where it's risen just there and how it flooded out of the top. I'm going to open it up. Let's have a look inside. Okay, so here it is, a primordial soup. Let's have a look what the gravity is at the point of racking. So remember, it started on 1.070, 1070, and it's now on 1.020, 1020. So it's gone down 50 units in 5 days, which is pretty amazing. Now, it's never going to get much below what it currently is because of the lactose sugar in there, but it still might go down a little bit in the demijohns. So what I'm going to do today is get it out of here and into these awaiting 1, 2, 3, 4 demijohns. I'm going to do so using a jug which has been cleaned. I've also got a filter which has been cleaned, and that is going into a funnel into the demijohn. The filter is from a coffee machine, or an old coffee machine which I no longer have, but it works very well at catching bits of trub. So the transfer process is as simple as this. And I could have used a siphoning tube, but to be honest, I've got a lot more control over it doing it this way. And it's only going to take me 5 minutes to get the whole lot out and into the demijohns, or thereabouts. Now it's definitely got a nice beery smell, And there is also an additional fruity smell with it as well. It's not distinct as to what that fruitiness is, but it's definitely kind of a dark fruity smell. So that's a good sign. And it's going to flood out, but that's fine. Okay, I'll leave that one as is. Okay, this is my first demijohn filled. I've rinsed the demijohn off and I've added an airlock to protect the beer inside there. I've got another 3 to do in exactly the same way. There's no point in you watching that. I'll come back to you when they're all done. Right, I'm done. Let me show you what I've got. So I've got 4 demijohns. I've labelled them up 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's the order in which they came out. So that one should be the darkest, and this one will probably be the milkiest, although there's not a massive distinction. It's certainly a little bit browner, that one, and that one's certainly a little bit blacker. So the information on here is the flavours: blackcurrant, rhubarb and gooseberry, milkshake stout, brew day 1, 18th of July 25, racked 22nd of July 25, and I've got what the gravity was to the gravity at racking also, just for my information going forward. Now the beer is going to stay in the demijohns for at least a month. In just under 2 weeks' time, I'm off to Australia for 3 weeks, so it'll be when I get back that I get on with this. So it's actually going to be 5 weeks and probably 6 weeks before I bottle it. But that's fine, that gives it plenty of time to settle, to develop, and hopefully for the final gravity to just go down a little bit more, so it's a little bit more alcoholic. Right, I'm just about done, but I have got 3 litres of this left in there, which isn't enough for a demijohn, and I'm just scratching my head and wondering what I can do with it. I'm tempted to get some more fruit, extract the juice and top it up into a new demijohn and make another drink out of it. I'm not sure 100% if I'm going to do that. I'll have a think about it, or I could just water it right down and put it on the garden because the plants will love it. One thing I need to show you is the filter, and it has done a good job. I don't know if you can see or not from the GoPro view, but there is seeds and little bits and bobs stuck inside there, which are now not going to end up in these demijohns and therefore not in the bottles at bottling. So in essence, all good's here, and I'll catch up with you in 5 or 6 weeks' time. See you then. Good afternoon from the kitchen, folks. It is brew day 38 for my blackcurrant, rhubarb and gooseberry stout, and today it's big bottling day. Oh, it's my least favourite day of the brewing process, I've got to admit. Very repetitive, lots to do, 2 hours from start to finish. Shut up, Stuart, crack on. So let me show you the stout. So there's 3 of them there, and one of them is on the windowsill. I have literally put it there about 3 minutes ago, so no comments about skunking. It won't be skunked, trust me. Okay, now fermentation stopped a while ago. There is some activity in the airlock because the sun has just shined on it. But the sun wasn't shining when I put it there, so that's annoying, but I'll deal with it. I've got a variety of different bottles just here, from 750ml crown cap type bottles to champagne bottles to even a Magnum. I am literally scraping the bottom of the bottle barrel. I'm running very low on bottles, essentially. I haven't got enough here for all 4 demijohns. I've got enough for 3 out of 4, and then I'm going to go and scrounge some more to finish the job off later this evening. So the first job is to add some priming sugar into each of these bottles. Now I normally use household granulated sugar. I'm using brewing sugar today because I've run out of granulated sugar. So in the smaller bottles like this, half a teaspoon. And in the bigger bottles, a level teaspoon. Or nearly a level teaspoon. I don't want to over sugar it because that could lead to bottle bombs. So the priming sugar is necessary for carbonation. So when the yeast which is left in there finds this sugar in the bottle, it'll smash it apart a little bit, create some CO2, and that will lead to, fingers crossed, a stout with a bit of liveliness to it. Now I obviously don't want it to be over carbonated, but I would like it to have a head. I would like it to have a bit of life about it. So the CO2 becomes pressurised in the bottle because obviously the bottle's bunged or it's capped. And as that pressure builds up, that's what leads to carbonation. So in my sink I've got bottles and I've got my hydrometer tube. The first bit that comes out from there is going into the hydrometer tube, and then from that I can work out the final gravity and what the alcohol by volume is for this brew. So I want to get the bung out of the demijohn. I'm going to pop this siphoning tube in, and I'm going to level with you. I can't see flipping anything in there hardly, so I've got to really... Oh, I can just see it against the side of the demijohn there. So I've got to push down on this now to try and... Oh, we've got some reaction to the... Oh, gosh, to the tube. That's not what I wanted to happen now. We'll start that again. Let's try and get it in again this time. Now, can I see the bottom? So the bottom of the tube is about there. I can see there's very little sediment, if any, in this bottle, so I'm going to push a bit further. Right, we're virtually on the bottom. It's there. So I'm going to put the first bit in the hydrometer tube and then into the bottles. Let's hope no more catastrophes. It weren't really a catastrophe, were it? Anyway, let's crack on. And it's out, and it looks good to me. Yep, there's no sediment there, and I'm going straight into bottle number 1. Smell-wise, it smells like a stout. I'm not getting massive fruit notes, I must admit. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but that doesn't mean anything really at this stage because it can change big time. So the first bottle is approaching being full. It's coming out nice and steady actually, which is good. And then I'm into bottle number 2. Now I'm going to have to top up each of these bottles because it's got quite a big head. It's reacted to the priming sugar straight away. Let's have a change of camera angle. So you can see what I mean by it's got quite a big head just there, and that is the reaction to the priming sugar. Even the hydrometer tube, which has no priming sugar in it, has got quite a big head. So I'm hoping actually that I'll have a big headed stout. And into the next one. So let's have a look up the tube and look at the coloration. It doesn't look too bad, does it? We're quite Coca-Cola just there actually. When you look at it in the demijohn, it looks black as the ace of spades, but when you look at that, it's actually brown. So it's going nice and steady, not in any hurry. I'm quite happy with that. And on to the next one. So I'm just going to make a little bit of room in the sink in case I have to put an emergency bottle in. I'm hoping I've guessed this one about right, but you never know. I'm quite looking forward to my Magnum Stout. I'll save this one for Christmas. Actually, I'll save it for Christmas 2026. That'll be a good one then. Yeah, that kink in the pipe is actually preventing it from coming out too fast, and whilst the kink is unintentional, it's actually serving a useful purpose. It's a lot more controlled. So I think looking at that, I am going to put another big bottle into the sink. Okay, and into my other bottle. And there we go, bubbles in the siphoning tube means that this one is now drained. Right, I've got a little bit of topping up to do now. I'll just top the rest up and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I've got to bung and cap my bottles. I'm going to demonstrate one of each. So here is one to be bunged. Here are my bungs. They're plastic reusable bungs. They've all been washed, but I'm just soaking them in very hot near boiling water to make them malleable and for a final clean. Oof, and it is hot, as I said. Right, so bung into bottle, push down. Like so. Yeah, that's in just fine. So the bung's in. But when that pressure builds up from the yeast hitting the priming sugar, that will go pew, unless I put a cage on top. Here's a cage. So that just pulls down on top, twists over, and I keep twisting until it is, in my mind, secure enough. And I would say that that is one bottle bunged and caged. The cages normally last for 3 or 4 uses before breaking. I buy some of them online, and I also get some from my local craft beer suppliers, as in the case of this one. So that's one champagne style bottle done. Now I'll do a crown cap. So this is a Cooper's Stout bottle from Australia. So fittingly go into another stout. That needs a cap. Now I wouldn't normally cap on my worktop like this. I'm doing it for camera reasons. I would rather do it down into the sink, but the angles are difficult. So this is not ideal because you want more purchase. It's better to do it downwards. And if it slips in the sink, at least it doesn't go everywhere apart from in the sink. Slightly worried, but let's carry on. So this is my capper. And it's got a magnetic bit in the top, and that cap attaches to the magnet like so, and then that goes over the bottle, and hopefully in one nice smooth motion, fingers crossed. Beautiful. Doesn't happen like that all the time. You get one lovely capped bottle. Nice. So I've now got to repeat, etc. to do all of this demijohn's worth. Then I've got to do that demijohn, and maybe not that one tonight. So when I've run out of bottles, I'll come back to you. It's probably going to take me 45 minutes, I reckon. See you in a bit. That has been a bit of a job. I've got the last 6 bottles in the sink, and I'm just going to give them a little rinse down, as I've done with every other bottle, because yes, there is sticky stuff everywhere. And then taking the bottles on a little trip into my living room, where they're going to sit on this towel and dry naturally. Right, that's 25 bottles of beer on the table. 25 bottles of beer. Yeah, we'll leave that. Right, it's now time for me to take the final gravity so we can work out the ABV for this brew. Right, let's go in for a dip. Okay, right. It has finished precisely, exactly on 1.020, 1020. Let's work out the ABV. So just looking at my demijohns, I can see that when I racked it, it was 1020, and it hasn't changed since then either. So that's a good sign. So back to the ABV. So I started on 1.070. I deduct from that the final gravity of 1.020, which equals 0.05, and then I multiply this figure by 131.25, which equals, drumroll please, 6.56%. Let's just say 6.6%. Almost the devil's brew, but I'll tell you what, I'm very, very happy with that. That's a nice percentage for a decent stout. Anyway, I'll have a little nifter from the hydrometer tube. Let's see what it tastes like. I think I am getting some fruit on that smell, actually. There's definitely fruit in that. I can get the blackcurrant and the gooseberry. I'm looking forward to see how this develops during conditioning. Anyway, while I'm waiting for those bottles to dry, I need to make some labels. Okay, I've made a label for my stout on my iPhone using a program called Printmaster. Blackcurrant, Rhubarb and Gooseberry Milkshake Stout, 6.6% ABV, 24th of August 2025. I'm just going to make sure it's working right, the printer, because this is my Fomamo Bluetooth printer. It's been playing up. Let's just check. Oh, that looks good. So I need to do another 24. I'll be back. Right, well, my labels are printed, so now it's simply a case of sticking them on each bottle. One down, 24 to go. See you soon. Hey folks, I've got 24 out of my 25 bottles up here to condition for the next month. The 25th bottle was the Magnum. That's going upstairs, out of the way, I'm going to set an alarm on my clock for Christmas 2026, and I'll do an opening and tasting video of that one then. But way before then, these are going to condition up here. So it's currently 7 in the evening in August, and it is 23.2 degrees Celsius. That is plenty warm enough for these to condition in the living room. And my living room is connected to a conservatory, south facing. The heat comes in, so it all works nice and well for me. Now in the conditioning process, the carbonation will develop, so the yeast will nibble the sugar, break it apart, CO2 will be released, pressure will build up, and hopefully I'll have a carbonated drink. Also, the flavours should develop. Now I'm expecting it will possibly go a little bit drier flavoured than what it currently is, because that often does happen during conditioning, but I'm hoping that the fruit flavours will come through a little bit more. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. So I'll come back to you in 4 or 5 weeks' time for the opening and tasting. See you then. Good evening from the kitchen, folks. I am delighted to be here tonight with the official opening and tasting, the world premiere of my blackcurrant, rhubarb and gooseberry milkshake stout. Yes, I still have to read the label to get it all right. It is brew day 71. This has been in the living room on top of the cabinet for 1 month and 1 day, and it's been in the fridge for 24 hours. And now I am going to get this opened and tasted, and I'm very much looking forward to it because I've been on nothing but cider of late. So having a stout is going to be a jolly treat. We're just into autumn, so we're getting near stout season anyway. I'm probably opening this up maybe a week or two before I intended to, but I just want to. So I'm going to, simple as that. So I'm just using a little mini dessert fork to unwind the cage. Save my fingers, my delicate fingers, and this cage will live to fight another day. Excellent. Right, so the bung is raised. I'm really hoping for carbonation. I'll be disappointed if there isn't any. Let's just see if I get a pop. Oh, and vapour. Look at that. Excellent. Right, let's see what this looks like. I'm pouring into the triple Carmelite glass, which has a very small nucleated section at the bottom, so it should help it to retain the head. It looks great. Look at that. Come on, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? That's flipping good. Let's get a picture for the front of the film. Because genuinely, that's how I feel right now, to be honest. It's been a tough old week, I'll tell you. First week back teaching. Flipping heck. Right, anyway. It's got a lovely smell. There is some fruitiness, but it's not distinct what the fruitiness is. And then it has a big beery smell, obviously, underlying that. Let's get in. Massive fruit flavours, absolutely massive. Gooseberry, or could it be rhubarb? That tart flavour, you know, from it's either gooseberry or rhubarb. I think gooseberry. The blackcurrants there. It overrides on top, so I've got the tartness at the side of my tongue. I've got the blackcurrant on top, all enveloped in a lovely stout package. Now it is quite gassy, so it has carbed very well. It feels in the mouth a little bit thinner than what I expected it to feel. I guess in my mind I was thinking maybe, you know, milkshakey is going to be a bit more milkshakey thickness, which obviously it's not really a milkshake, but I was kind of in my mind hoping for it to have a bit more, I don't know, just a bit more thickness about it. With that said, the flavour was good. The fruitiness is unmistakable. It's quite medium profile-wise. I wouldn't go as far as to say sweet. I don't think the lactose sugar has left it sweet, but it's certainly not a dry stout, because sometimes stouts do come out very dry. It isn't a dry stout at all, and it's an easy drinker, apart from the gassiness, which I can already feel it building up inside me, so excuse me if I make a big noise. But no, this is good. This is really nice, and I think given time and maturity, this will turn into something really quite pleasant. So, you know, I'm going to probably end up having a bottle or two a week for the next couple of months. And I think the nearer I get to Christmas and New Year, the better this is going to get. I'll tell you what I will do, I'll retain a bottle. Oh, I've got that Magnum, haven't I? I'll retain that Magnum. We'll open that one next year. But yeah, I'm happy enough with this. This is good. I think it was an experiment that has worked out. It's definitely a nice drinkable beer. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm glad that I've done it. Next year, what I'm going to do when apple season comes in is I'm going to do a whole beer with nothing but apple juice. But I'm not going to do a stout. I shall probably do a saison type beer. But yeah, mixing the fruit from the steam press with the beer from the beer kit, it's good, it works. So, cheers folks. I hope you've enjoyed the film. It's been a long one, I know. But thank you for your comments that you leave me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming and watching it in the first place. I really, really do appreciate it. So I'll catch you on the next film, whatever that may be. I'm probably not going to do a brew film next week, but I might do. Because I've got literally 30 brews now, 31 now. So there's going to be a brew film every other week now for the foreseeable future, probably right into 2026. So if I do something else in between, then that just pads it out a little bit. So cheers, thanks for watching again, and I'll catch you on the next film, whatever that may be. It's nice.